In this podcast episode, Peter Crone, a leading expert in human potential and performance, dives deep into the paradoxes of the human mind, suffering, love, identity, and the impact of the subconscious on personal growth. He unpacks how our subconscious mind shapes our experience, dictates our relationships, and either traps or frees us. Drawing from decades coaching elite athletes, CEOs, and high performers, Peter reveals powerful insights into the human condition, explaining why willpower fails, how manifestation truly works, and what it means to dissolve limiting beliefs and rewrite our identity to live from freedom, love, and possibility. Peter opens by reflecting on the inherent suffering experienced by most humans. He notes the paradox that while the human brain is a tremendous survival tool, its operating system based on fear and anticipation of a bad future can hinder living a thriving, creative life. This survival mechanism drives us to avoid pain and loss that have not yet occurred, leaving many trapped in anxiety and self-limiting beliefs. He explains that suffering is part of the human experience and a fundamental access point for growth, as we are all here to liberate ourselves from the constraints we inherit. The core of Peter's philosophy centers on the identity forged in childhood, shaped by subconscious programming and conditioning. Early experiences and messages, such as being told you're wrong or you're not enough, create a facade or identity that we mistake for our true selves. This identity becomes our greatest adversary, a prison that drives us to fix, prove, or disprove ourselves endlessly. The subconscious serves as the foundation for this identity, ingraining patterns that manifest automatically in thoughts, feelings, actions, and results, often outside of conscious awareness. Discussing his personal history and relationships, Peter explores how fear, attachment, and codependency, rather than love, often underpin the formation of relationships. Early life traumas, he lost both parents by age 17, led him to compensate in relationships by being the perfect boyfriend, driven by fear of loss and inadequacy. Many are unwittingly locked in relationships with their subconscious conditioning rather than genuinely relating with another person. This manifests as attempts to manipulate for love and acceptance rooted in childhood wounds. He emphasizes that most people are in a relationship but not in relationship, meaning they are in the form but lack genuine connection and mutual presence. Peter asserts that the quality of love we can give others depends entirely on the relationship we have with ourselves. True love involves embracing all parts of oneself, including the unlovable aspects. Without deep self-acceptance, what masquerades as love is often compensatory and rooted in fear and survival strategies. Only by embodying full acceptance can we extend authentic love, free from blame or judgment. Without it, we only find fault with others and perpetuate insecurity in relationships. Willpower, Peter explains, is an ego-driven, forceful energy based on survival. While it can temporarily override habits, it is unsustainable because it does not change the underlying identity driving behavior. You cannot violate identity without eventually falling back into old patterns. Real change requires a death of ego and old identity, a metamorphosis that dissolves limiting beliefs. This process begins with awareness, bringing unconscious patterns into consciousness and then questioning their validity. Challenging and dismantling these core limiting beliefs opens up new possibilities for transformation beyond surface-level effort. Peter reframes manifestation away from wishful thinking or ego-based wanting. Manifestation is a continuous process driven by subconscious conditioning and identity. All of our thoughts, feelings, actions, and outcomes are manifestations of this underlying frequency. To manifest different results, one must first shift identity and subconscious programming. Traditional manifestations focused on future desires chained to time are ineffective, since true manifestation stems from an instantaneous shift in frequency or operating system. This aligns with quantum principles where frequency precedes form, meaning change occurs by reprogramming at the subconscious level. Central to Peter's teaching is the ability to accept uncertainty and be at peace with what is, regardless of outcomes. This acceptance liberates us from the tyranny of needing control or certainty, which fuels much suffering. He shares stories illustrating that embracing a future without attachment to specific outcomes, whether success or failure, creates a profound freedom that paradoxically leads to better results. whether in athletics or relationships. This balance between high engagement and low attachment is the eternal dance for sustained success and inner peace. The episode explores how mental and emotional states manifest physically as disease and suffering. Limiting codes in identity generate fear, which permeates emotional and physiological systems, precipitating disease as the absence of ease. Peter highlights the interplay between subconscious beliefs and the body's state of health, emphasizing that healing requires a shift in identity and frequency rather than treating symptoms alone. He challenges the notion of chronic conditions as fixed, showing how shifts in mindset and subconscious patterns can lead to profound recovery, sometimes appearing miraculous, yet grounded in physics and alignment. Peter touches on the vulnerability required to hold space authentically for others, particularly in leadership roles. While he has had great external success and impact, he reveals the loneliness and lack of true seeing or acknowledgement leaders often endure. Being fully known and emotionally supported, even by a close team, is rare. He cites the critical importance of genuine acknowledgement and holding space, which many either fear or lack the skill for, thus limiting true connection. This vulnerability also extends to accepting that sometimes in intimate relationships, despite love, partners may not be aligned, and peace with that reality is vital. Drawing from a personal story, Peter explains how prioritizing health and mission before relationships lays a foundation for sustainable fulfillment. He describes a relationship where his own health, physical, emotional, spiritual, and mission take precedence, not diminishing love, but rather enhancing it. This order prevents codependency and the exhaustion of trying to be everything to everyone. Healthy boundaries and alignment with one's purpose create space for genuine presence and love in relationships, fostering peace even if the romantic partnership is not ultimately meant to be. The conversation explores the subtle but powerful fixation on being right as a poor man's version of self-worth. This craving to prove oneself correct drives many to protect their problems fiercely rather than pursue true healing or freedom. Repeatedly telling one's story sustains identity-based suffering, and yet the exhaustion from carrying these self-created narratives eventually motivates transformation. Recognizing that the only opponent is one's own imagination is a key step on the path. Peter identifies the greatest obstacle any human faces as their own identity, which is simultaneously the ultimate addiction. The tools to overcome this include deep awareness, making the unconscious conscious, and rigorously investigating the truthfulness of limiting beliefs. He stresses the importance of moving beyond intellectual understanding to embodied change. Physiology softens as identity shifts, and behavior naturally transforms. This is especially powerful in younger people who have fewer entrenched neural pathways limiting their evolution. Suffering is not an aberration, but a universal aspect of being human. Peter describes it as the first noble truth and the impetus for awakening. Becoming free from suffering entails re-identifying from conditioned identity to the essence of who we are, which he calls the T0 operating system of freedom, love, and possibility. Liberation is living beyond survival-based constraints, enabled by true self-acceptance and love. Peter highlights fear as the double-edged sword, fueling achievement and creating inner turmoil. Many successful people are driven by fears embedded in early conditioning, propelling them to prove their worth externally but leaving internal voids unhealed. The paradox is that success motivated by fear rarely yields lasting fulfillment. When individuals learn to live from love rather than fear, they gain greater freedom and often higher performance in every domain. A key marker of this is the ability to be fully committed, totally unattached, a balance crucial to sustained excellence. Peter defines greatness as the soul's discovery of its own essence beyond imposed identity and limitations. It involves transcending constraints to live from a place of true freedom, love, and possibility, and then embodying this in service to others so they can do the same. His final three truths to leave are the affirmation of love, the certainty that there is nothing wrong with anyone despite their perceived flaws or mistakes, and the conviction that it all works out in the end, or otherwise, it isn't the end yet. These encapsulate his message of radical acceptance and hope. Peter shares about his upcoming programs, including a 3-month mastermind and a membership platform called 20 World that focuses on upgrading one's operating system to live from freedom, love, and possibility. He is currently writing books to formalize his teachings and expand their reach. People can find his work via social media and his website to engage with his coaching and transformative content.